Hey everybody, Economic Ninja here. I know it's dark, but sun hasn't come up yet and it's time to get you guys some information. So if you don't remember, or you haven't seen my video from June, I did a video called the dollar whippet theory, and I talked about how we were going to move from, I gave you my idea of what was going to happen. Again, remember guys, I'm not a financial advisor, I'm not an analyst. I'm just a dude with a brohawk and a dream. But in that plan, I laid out that we were going to see inflation start to ramp up, ramp up, ramp up until we went into a time of deflation because people were going to get frustrated with the cost of goods going up, like we saw in lumber. We already saw that whole cycle collapse, right? And we're going to see it rise again in the future. I'll talk about that later, not in this video, but in another video. But we saw that full cycle, and it's a great analogy for what's coming because this deflation, I said it's going to happen in the fall, as I believe, start, and it's going to really ramp up around the first of the year because people are not going to have the money or the extra money to go out and do things like go on vacations, just spend things, buying big screen TVs, right? Because they were going to care more about the cost of fuel and food. Now that's already rising sharply. We're seeing headlines all over. But I talked about this in June while we were in the middle of the ramp up of inflation. Now we're going to hit deflation, and then it's going to ultimately turn into a deflationary collapse, and then we're going to see hyperinflation. So the other day on CNBC, we saw that the GDP has been revised down to 2%, or sorry, the economic growth rate down to 2%, right? And this is quote unquote based off of a sharp slowdown in consumer spending. So it is already happening right now where the consumer is not only frustrated with higher prices, so they're waiting, let's say like in automobiles, but they are also not spending on extra items because quite frankly, they don't have the extra money. Wages are not picking up along with the cost of inflation, right? Even though we see McDonald's paying, $16 an hour, we see Panda Express paying $18 an hour, things like that on the lower end scale of jobs because they're hurting so bad for employees. By and large, the average consumer has not seen their wages grow fast enough to stay up with inflation to keep up with their standard of living. So here we go. Here's some key points I want to go over and then I'm going to talk about them. It said the U.S. economy grew at 2% annualized pace in the third quarter, its slowest increase since the end of the 2020 recession, okay? So even though we had all these stellar headlines of all this growth, because it was based on a shutdown, all right? That's what I say. Literally, you could grow at anything, and compared to a stopping of the economy, it looked good. So for months and for a few quarters, we saw this stellar growth, and that's what politicians around the world were touting. Look at it's growing. Like, come on, I'm not an idiot. I know it literally went from stop to barely go, and all of a sudden that's impressive. So decelerations in consumer spending and residential investment helped keep the number low. And they said weekly jobless claims fell more than expected last week to a fresh pandemic era low, below they give some numbers. My point being is this: that's obvious. We all know that people are having to go back to work now, right? Because unemployment benefits, those extra unemployment benefits, stopped in September. This is just logic. It's normal, but they've got to put this stuff in there to make it seem like it's not that bad. Now, the last thing I'm going to put out there real quick is I'm going to show you this chart, right? And this shows U.S. gross domestic product change from previous quarter. Look at my super high-tech stuff. Now, obviously, you see in the black, that's when everything stopped, right? And then when everything opened up, you see this massive spike. Why? Because I wanted to go out to dinner. I wanted to go take my family out. I wanted to go get outside and go on a vacation. That is what that large spike right there was. And then it shows, right after that massive spike, it wasn't the best. It didn't stay up there, right? But it did start for 3 more quarters, start ticking up, right? Until we just saw what happened this last quarter. And you can see that last one next to my finger. And they say it's an unexpected drop. Now, if you're part of Ninja Nation, you're a subscriber on the Economic Ninja channel, you saw this, you knew this was coming in June. You also knew that food and fuel prices were going to skyrocket, right? And just so you know, we haven't seen anything yet, all right? You're literally watching politicians go, hey, hold my beer. Watch this. I'm going to make some even stupider decisions with the economy and print even more money. And you're seeing that, right? What is that going to lead to? That is going to lead to a hyperinflationary spike. But I want to explain this one more time, and this is why I talk about getting out of the system, getting out of the fiat system, right? Getting into real assets like gold and silver, getting into, if you want to get into cryptocurrencies, look at stable projects like Bitcoin, right? Start with the majors. Don't go off for the shiny things because they just come crashing down when you least expect them, all right? 99% of the people are holding the bag when those things fall. My point being is this. That's getting out of the system, because what's going to happen is they're going to be benefiting. Gold and silver always trail inflation later on in the game, but when they go, they go. Bitcoin is already picking up steam, and it's not because it's a better asset class, honestly. And I'm not looking to get into an argument with, crypto maximalists. It has its place. It's totally different than gold and silver, right? But what's happening is it's a new technology that so much money is diving into. It's forcing the prices up faster, sooner than what you'd normally see in an inflationary hedge, okay? But it is doing its job. So that's what I'm talking about, getting out of the system. The facts of the matter are, this inflation is going to get worse and worse and worse until people completely stop spending, and then it's going to start a downward spiral. Think about when people stop buying cars. If everyone stopped buying cars today, the one guy that's in the sales department right now, because there's not 10 anymore, all right, because there's not that many car sales. It's just like the housing market. Everyone thought it was smoking hot because all they look at is price, but they didn't realize there were so few homes for sale. That's why the prices were going up. Same thing with cars. You don't see 10 salesmen in a car dealership anymore. You see literally 10 cars and one car salesman, right? Because he could handle all the volume. That is the truth. But what happens tomorrow if all of a sudden everybody stops buying a car? That one guy, he's not going to be working tomorrow. That's it. And now that's one less person that can put money into the economy, the real economy, going out to dinner. Well, now what happens when he doesn't go out to dinner? That's one less waitress the restaurant needs, because that's one less meal they're selling. And I'm being extreme, but hopefully you guys are getting my point. All right? The economy is starting to contract because people don't have the extra money to put into the economy. So think of all the extra fluff in the economy. Think about the car audio places. Think about the detail shops that detail your car. Think about the high-end haircut places that people like to go to, or getting their, we can go on for days and days of the extra things in our lives. Look at Netflix. Look at the subscription-based companies right now that are completely collapsing based on worse than expected guidance. Well, if they're on the Ninja channel, they would have known that. People are going to cancel their Netflix first. That's what they're going to do. I mean, honestly, this is really happening because they're going, I don't have the extra money, so I'm looking where I can curb my spending. Hey, guess what, Starbucks? I think you're next. Why? Because you're too darn expensive and your coffee isn't that great. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. Sometimes you got to be solid as a, what's the name of that phrase? Solid as a, I don't know. Whatever. That being said, and you guys saw that, hashtag The Rock. All right, guys. The Economic Ninja is out.